In today's episode, once again, we speak to the beautiful, the elegant, the charming Bevin Farrand. Bevin started her remote-based business after being laid off 3 times in a row from a corporate career, which she actually believed she was secure in. She then became a solo breadwinner for herself and her 2 small children after losing her husband unexpectedly in 2019, only 5 days after a whirlwind trip to France for her birthday. She scaled her business to multiple 6 figures during the pandemic while grieving the loss of her husband and continued being a great mom through it all. After that experience, she created the movement called Take the Damn Chance, with the mission to help others connect with people they love and take action on their big, bold, crazy dreams, whether in their business or personal life. And in today's episode, we're speaking to Bevin about how to craft your damn manifesto. Let's find out. Welcome. This is Gull, your money mindset expert. And once again, we have the amazing, we have the wonderful, we have the fantabulous Bevin Farrand. Welcome, Bevin.
Thank you so much for having me back. I love it. I'm so excited to be with you again.
Thank you so much, Bevin. We had such an amazing conversation, and I tell you, you left me in awe on our Friday feature conversation. But I'm really excited to speak to you today. So, Bevin, everyone's heard your intro, and everybody knows how amazing you are. But please, in your own words, tell everybody what it is that you do.
I am the creator of what I call the Take the Damn Chance movement. And you heard a lot of that story on Friday, but the damn means something. I say it all the time. I'm like, if it has the word damn in it, it's probably me, but it stands for something. So the damn stands for decide and declare, attend your own party, moments, not minutes, and now is the time. And what I've seen time and again is that once I see these mindsets, once any of my clients or audience sees these mindsets, they can't unsee them. And you can use them to really create incredible things in your life, whether that is starting a business, getting further in your career, starting or expanding your family, your fitness, moving cross country, whatever it is that I call it your big, bold, often crazy dream. You can use this damn manifesto to create it. And this damn framework. And it always starts with a damn manifesto.
Okay, fantastic. So that leads me on to today's topic, which is crafting your damn manifesto. So you've already explained to us what damn means, but what's the process of creating a manifesto like this? And what's your steps?
So I say your damn manifesto is your yes in order to your 6-dimensional why. Okay. So we start with our yes. What is it that we want more than anything else right now? Because sometimes that feels really heavy. Like I have to know what I want for the rest of my life. And we don't. When I was in my teens, my dad and I had a really long dinner because I was deciding about whether or not to go to a boarding school or not. And he gave me the best advice of my entire life. I feel like it's really impressive that he gave me the best advice when I was like 13 and it has stood the test of time. But he said to me, Bevin, you're going to make the best decision you can with the information you have at hand right now.
Yeah.
And if you make a different decision in 6 months or 6 weeks or even 6 days, it's not because today's decision is wrong. It's because you have more information and you're making the best decision you can with the information you have at hand. And that has helped me release regret, sure, but more importantly, allowed me to give myself permission to pivot, to tweak as needed. So we think about our yes. What is it that we want more than anything else? And I love a good acronym. So I've come up with 4 questions that we ask ourselves, which spell the word trip.
Okay.
So are you willing to make this your top priority? That's the T. So are you willing to say no to some things? When we were starting to get pregnant through IVF with our first child, I got offered an audition or a callback for a show that I really wanted to do. I have a background in theater, and I knew that it was going to potentially overlap. And I was talking to my mom and I said, I don't know what happens if we're supposed to do the embryo transfer the same weekend of the show. And she said, well, maybe you need to put IVF off for 3 months. And I said, no, that's not my top priority. My top priority is my family. And so I knew I had to say no to that other thing. So I had to be willing to make it my top priority.
Okay. So
we're going to say no to big and little things, because once we know our yes, like the no's become easy.
Okay. So that, I think, so then I want to just pause for a second. I think this is quite important to highlight and be very, I think a lot of the times we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to do this. We need to be clear in our mind what is our current top priority.
Right.
I think that's a lot of people, you know, especially entrepreneurs who have, you know, gazillion ideas coming to their minds. I can do this.
Multi-passionate entrepreneurs.
Exactly. That's what they call them. That's the nice way to say it, multi-passionate entrepreneurs. You have to, and it's not to say you cannot do all these things. You know, we look at Richard Branson and Elon Musk and so forth, but all of these entrepreneurs started off with one and then built it up and moved on to two and built that up and slowly, gradually, and then they had the manpower to be able to manage a number of things. But at any given moment in time, they were building and creating that one thing, and then they went on ahead additional things. And especially with Elon Musk, it was PayPal they initially created, or you know, something like that. And so you need to think of one thing. And I'm in my own life, I'm thinking of, you know, you need to be willing to compromise. I think that's another thing.
Yeah.
That, you know, you need to be able to compromise on it, because I'm thinking in my life, my coaching business is what I love and adore. And it got to the point where I could either go full on in here and make it an 8-figure and go into 9-figure business, or but then that would mean that I am not as present, or I don't know, there's something inside me that says no. And I have my other, because I am a lawyer and I want to go back into law, but in a different way. I could go through that and also have my other business as well. I've chosen to keep my coaching business at a smaller scale, like within 7-figure mark, rather than go for 8 and 9, and continue to build the other businesses now. But that's because coaching is fine. It can take care of itself. And my other ones are more profitable too. So I'm just thinking long term, those businesses will be more profitable. They can go on to 10 figures. So why not go for that in the 10 years time, rather than sticking to this as an 8 and 9? And it will be easier, you know, as a long term, because I can move myself out of it by having managers and so forth. So I had to make a calculated decision on what was my priority, but that had a knock-on effect on my coaching business, which means I am not going to be spending as much time on here, and I'll be doing in less hours, which means I'm not going to take this as aggressively and go for the 100 million mark on here at all, and anytime soon. As long as you're clear in your mind as to your goals and your outcomes, you're okay. If that wasn't the case, if I wanted to make this a 9-figure business, then I would have to say no to law firms and going and building my property business. And this is where I think a lot of people, you know, fall down on. They feel guilty, like, no, that's an opportunity, this is an opportunity, and crypto is an opportunity. Yeah, but you cannot be doing everything all at once. You have to make the decision of focus, along with the fact, my first priority is always my kids. I always say I'm a mom first, entrepreneur second. So if I'm not going to take the time out for my children, then business-wise, I have to focus in limited ways on whatever I'm building. I'm just throwing that in there so people understand this is really important to recognize what are your top priorities and be clear in your mind before the get-go. Otherwise, you will be chasing your tail and you won't be able to succeed at anything. If I keep thinking I want to make 100 million business for my coaching, which is absolutely doable, there are people out there who've done that, then I cannot take, and I still want to be a fully present mother. I cannot be spending another 50 hours trying to create a law firm business or property business. It's just not going to work that way. And you have to be not, I wouldn't say realistic, but you have to be practical. When you're deciding what is your top priority, and be very clear in your mind what's your top priority. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I just wanted to interject a little bit in there.
Well, because when everything is your top priority, nothing is.
Exactly.
It's like you were talking about Richard Branson and Elon Musk, and they did one thing at a time. I like to compare it. If you're going to do all these different things at once, it's like trying to drive 17 different cars to one destination. Nothing is ever going to get there. because you're going to drive half a mile, then you're going to run back and you're going to get the next one and you're going to drive that a mile because you like it a little bit more. But then you're going to go back and you're going to get the third one and it's going to go, it's never going to get there. But if instead you drive that first one all the way to what you consider like a stopping point or completion, then you can go back and get the next one and bring it along. But we have to be willing to choose our top priority.
Agreed.
And then we have to ask ourselves, the second question was, are you willing to resource it? So are you willing to put not just money, but time, energy, focus, attention, sometimes space towards it? Because we all have limited resources. So you're going to have to choose where you put those.
Yeah.
And then the third question is it inspiring? Is it something that you are moving towards rather than away from? So, it's a lot easier to want to live in California. I know you said your sister wants to move to California. It's a lot easier to want to live in California than to not want to live in Detroit.
Yeah.
So if it's something you're moving towards, that's how your brain can really focus on it. And then the fourth question, which comes back to what you were just talking about, is it personal? Is it your dream? Because a lot of times we waste so much time going after other people's dreams or dreams that other people think we should have. Other people probably think you should grow your business to $100 million. And there's other people that probably think you should focus on law. But it doesn't matter. That's their life. This is your life. And you get to decide what your personal yes is.
Yeah. I think that is probably the hardest question to answer. We take on, especially our parents' beliefs to such an extent, their dreams become our dreams. And we as parents have to be very careful not to give our children our dreams as well, or our dreams for them as well. Because I remember I wanted to be a doctor, and I always give this story. And I being a typical South Asian, of course, the only professions we're familiar with is accountants, lawyers, and doctors. Okay, that's the only three professions in the bloody world, right?
Yeah.
And so I grew up thinking I was going to be a doctor, and I studied hard. I studied extremely hard, and I'm still very dyslexic. I didn't even know this until my first year of law degree. Of course, I didn't go to become a doctor. I became a lawyer, and so, still within.
I was one of the other three.
Yeah. But anyhow, and if somebody would ask me, I would have all these elaborate, reasons why I wanted to become a doctor, and but the main reason was it was my mom's dream, so it became my dream. Funny enough, my father's dream for me was to be a lawyer. Funny enough, okay. But I wasn't speaking to my dad, so obviously, that never came to pass. But I did know that he wanted me to be a lawyer. Anyhow, and I'm one of those people who cannot stand blood. Right? I just can't. So
probably doctor is not the best option.
Not really. But I have to say, I was grateful to my teacher, my maths teacher. I'm very good at maths, and my maths teacher. It's the one who actually questioned me because, why do you want to go into medicine? And I said, because I want to be a doctor, and the normal, you turn off all these reasons. And he goes, no. Have you been in hospital? I'm like, yeah, I've been to. He goes, no, have you actually worked in one? And so on his suggestion, and he was very good. So I was his favorite student. So, you rely on teacher's opinion. He got me to take a 6-week, work experience in my local hospital. And I ended literally, the hospital was very good actually. At the age of 16, 17, I had a week in each department, from radiology to, I think pediatrics to, you name it. I was in a week in every department. I'm telling you, Bevin, I hated every single.
I was going to say, did you even make it the full 6 weeks?
I did. I did make the 6 weeks. So that when I make a commitment, I stick to it. But I hated it. I hated going to it. I hated the work. I mean, the doctors were okay, and they were all laughing and joking and whatever else. But honestly, I was thinking, my God, I do not want to be doing this. And I hated the smells. I hate everything about the hospital. And I'm thinking, what the flip? Why do I want to be a doctor? Right. So when I went back, and he said, okay, now what do you want to do? I'm like, oh, not medicine.
Not doctor.
Yes. What's my next option? I'll be a lawyer.
Yeah. But I mean, thank goodness you, A, had that experience, and B, were willing to really assess whether you wanted to continue, because so often we will continue on something purely out of inertia, because an object at rest tends to stay at rest, and an object in motion tends to stay in motion.
Yeah.
And so until some kind of outside force ourselves or something else. When I got laid off, that was the outside force I needed to get off of this C-suite track and become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And at that point, I went about it in a way of said, I created my own damn manifesto. Actually, I didn't at that point. I didn't know what it was, but I knew after looking back, what had I done differently? So now as I created the Take the Damn Chance movement, I created my damn manifesto, just like we're talking about. So I've asked myself, is this my top priority? Am I willing to resource it? Is it inspiring? Is it personal? So my yes, which answers all of those questions, is I want to share the Take the Damn Chance movement with as many people as possible in as many ways as possible. And so when I am offered a project or an event, I kind of hold that up to my yes. And I say, does this move that forward? Does this allow me to share this message or not? Because I get offered things all the time that are lucrative. It could make me a lot of money, but they don't move it forward. And so I say no.
I think
So that's the yes.
So that's the yes. Okay, that's wonderful. So okay, we got from a bit of tangent. So I'm a bit lost now. So the step number 1 is work out the trip, which is answer those 4 questions. What's step number 2 then?
So step number 2 is what I call your 6-dimensional why.
Okay.
Because we hear it all the time. We say, you hear, start with why. Your why is so important. Like, what's your why? And they're right, but they're not going deep enough. Because if you just have one why, it's not strong enough. I always say you can't hang your big, bold dreams on one flimsy little why. It's just not enough, because when it gets hard, and it's always going to get hard at some point, that one why can't stand up. So even if you say, I want to start a business to make money, to make a lot of money, if you have time where you're not making that money, you're like, this is too hard. I'm just going to go do something else. I'm going to go get a job. Or we'll hear this all the time. Do it for your kids. Your kids are your why. Do this for your why. Do this for your kids. And I said, yeah, but when my kids are the ones keeping me awake at night and driving me bonkers, they're not enough of a why. I need to have a more fully fleshed out why. So we look at these 6 areas of our life that are going to be impacted whether we want to admit it or not. And those are financial, emotional, mental, physical, social, and spiritual. And I know I don't have an acronym for that one. I'm so good at acronyms, can't do that one. So you can get those questions at 6dimensionalwhy.com. But we have to look at, if we bring our dream to life, how are we going to be impacted financially? And how do we want to be impacted financially? So for me, as I look at the Take the Damn Chance movement, I want to create a business strong enough that I can support my family, which means I pay our mortgage, I pay our bills, they can do their lessons, I can keep our nanny on, we can go on. But I want to create this thriving business. I can go out to dinner and have an appetizer and dessert and not feel stressed about it. And then we say, how does it impact us emotionally? Well, my business makes me very proud and very happy. And so emotionally, it fulfills these really strong needs of mine to have this joy. Mentally, I love a good challenge, Gull. And so it really brings me that opportunity to figure things out, to be challenged. Physically, I get to work from wherever I want. I get to take trips and work with incredible people. I get to meet people face to face, but I also have the space to work by myself. I get to take my kids. I get to have breakfast with them in the morning and give them kissing hands before they leave for school. I get to meet my daughter at the bus every day at 4:16 when she comes running off the bus. Socially, I get to work with really amazing people. I get to help people bring their big dreams to life. That's amazing to me. And then spiritually, it does not matter what your religious beliefs are. But for me, this is my soul's calling. This is my soul's purpose. This is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. So we look at those 6 areas, and that becomes our fully fleshed out 6-dimensional why, which is the second half.
And that's extremely powerful, because if you think about, if you have a why from those 6 angles, it's going to be a very solid why, and you won't be derailed at every curveball that's thrown at you. And you will have loads of bumps on the way. I mean, let's just be very, very clear about it. The universe has an interesting sense of humor. It does like to throw you quite a few curveballs.
It's hilarious.
And, yes. And you're like, seriously, honestly, again, seriously. I thought we just dealt with this, but okay, fair enough. But yeah, it's
Right.
you have to remain committed, and I suppose that's part of the challenge. You have to remain committed to your vision throughout these so-called challenges or obstacles,
Yeah.
in order for you to get to the the other side of the rainbow. And if you are going to be derailed
Yeah.
and stop halfway, then you don't deserve to get what you want to, whatever you're manifesting. So it really does make sense.
Right.
Okay, that's step
But
number two. Okay, go on.
these 6 areas, like I said, they're going to be impacted. And so you need to see if they're impacted the way you want them to be. Like sometimes we're going to flesh it out and say, moving across country is actually going to completely upend my financial life. And I don't know if that's strong enough. But for me, having this fully fleshed out, on the days or weeks where I feel like my financials of my business have slipped, is this really worth it? Then I think about how much I love the mental challenge and how this business does fulfill that mental why for me. Or if I'm at a place where I'm like, I just don't really want to have to find the clients and search for them. But then I think about emotionally how proud I am to run this business, or how spiritually this is my calling. This is what I'm supposed to do. And so it carries me through when it gets hard. And so then we take that, we craft that into a simple to say and easy to remember sentence. Because we're not going to say, I want to do this in order to do this financially and this emotionally, because that's too long. Instead, we come up with something that helps us trigger those things. So for me, my 6-dimensional why is to create a sustainable, thriving business that both supports and inspires my family and the world. And that, when I say that, it encompasses being able to financially support my kids and let them have the lessons that they want. It encompasses how proud I feel and my soul's calling. So whenever I'm feeling a little uncertain, I will write down my 6-dimensional why. I want to share the damn framework with as many people as possible in as many ways as possible in order to create a sustainable, thriving business that both supports and inspires my family and the world. And again, that becomes the touchstone for when things get hard. We go back to that. When we're not sure what decision to make, you go back to that.
And I think that's really, really powerful. That's what keeps you grounded and solid in times of turmoil. And you're going to face that. Okay, so that's step number 2. What's step number 3 then?
Well, the step number 3 is crafting that damn manifesto into that sentence. And again, you can do that for anything. You can do it for expanding your family, your health and fitness, making a big move. You can go through that process. And then we do what I call layered declarations. And we talked a little bit about this on Friday, but a lot of times we will ask people for permission instead of support. And so sometimes we're bringing the wrong people in too soon. So the layered declarations are that we start by just declaring it to ourselves. We've gotten really clear on our yes and our why. We know that the how and the when might be a little bit more flexible, but we've declared it to ourselves. So like I said, we say it, we think it, speak it, say it, write it down. That's to ourselves. Then we expand that out to just 2 or 3 people who are our cheerleaders. Their whole goal at the beginning stage of this is just to cheer us on. They're not asking questions. They're not poking holes. When I decided to get pregnant with Mirastella, I had 2 to 3 cheerleaders. They were from my book club, some of my very best friends. And their whole goal was to just say, yay, blood tests, yay, ultrasounds, 7 pregnancy tests. Let's do it. Like that was their whole goal. I wasn't going to bring the wrong people in too soon because they were going to start eating away at my dream. And it wasn't strong enough to withstand that yet. Then as I built some momentum, as I started to see it take shape with my business or any of these things, I bring in a few more people as my support system. Then after that, a few more people, as my close-knit group. And then we keep going because too often people will shout it from the social media rooftops as a way to prove their bravery, but then they don't allow themselves any room for vulnerability if things start to get bumpy.
Yeah.
And, you talked about it last week about, you've had siblings come to you and ask for your support, your permission, basically. And so we want to look at, are we asking for permission? Are we asking for support? Or are we asking for counsel?
Okay. And
Because
those three are
counsel,
very different, of course. Yeah.
so different. Counsel is asking somebody who has been there before to give you some guidance, but not permission. They're not saying, yes, you can do this. They're saying, here's how I did it. Let me give you some counsel. And so in doing that, we bring the right people in at the right time for the right support.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be some people that you want specific support from. Like there's a specific person that I want support from. I want support from my family, but it might not look exactly the way I want it to. I want their support, but it's got to be the way they're comfortable in giving it. And then there's sometimes you want specific support, and it might not come from the person that you think it will. But you need, support in understanding the finances of a new business. It might not come from your brother or your dad or your sister or your best friend. It might come from somebody totally different. But we're bringing the right people in at the right time for the right support. And when you pair that, your damn manifesto, with layered declarations where you're just adding them on it bit by bit by bit, you are creating a strong foundation that can truly take you so far, so much faster than you think, so much further to creating your big, bold dreams.
That's so powerful. Okay, so there's 3 steps in crafting your damn manifesto. Is that correct? Okay, can you do a quick, and just to round the episode up, can you give us a quick summary of 3, please?
Sure. So you start with creating your yes. That is the thing you want more than anything else right now. And you ask yourself those 4 trip questions. Then you craft your 6-dimensional why. How are the different areas of your life going to be impacted when you bring this to life? Then you write it into a very simple to say, easy to remember sentence that you can write in the morning. If you do affirmations, you can say to yourself anytime you are starting to feel a little uncertain or unsure. You can hold the questions up to that. And then from that, the little bonus step is to start the layered declarations. Start by declaring it to yourself, then start to inch it out to different groups and bringing the right people in at the right time for the right support.
Absolutely fantastic. I think that's a brilliant way to move ahead, and that's how you'll move past procrastination also, because a lot of times we freeze in procrastination. We're actually, procrastination is I don't think there is such a thing as procrastination. I think your subconscious mind freezes up because it's afraid of taking the next step, and therefore you see it manifests as procrastination. But that's another conversation for another time. But yeah. I think this is absolutely
well, and it
brilliant.
Also, it is a whole nother conversation, but it's also a lot of times because we're thinking too big. So we break it down into micro actions and we focus on movement, not mindset, and that then starts to build that momentum.
Absolutely brilliant. So Bevin, tell everybody, how can we connect with you? Where can we find you on the internet?
So if you want to do a little bit more work around this damn manifesto, I have a free training at dothedamnthing.com. Or if you're specifically saying, I don't know how to do these 6-dimensional why, you can get these 10 questions that you ask yourself at 6dimensionalwhy.com. So either of those are great places to start to build a little bit more momentum towards this. And then I am everywhere at Bevin Farrand. So Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the places, Bevin Farrand.
Wonderful. If you're listening to us on the podcast, then all the links that Bevin has just mentioned will be in the show notes. And if you're watching us on YouTube, then down below in the description section, once again, you'll have the links to Bevin. Do check her out. She is one kick-ass lady. And if you haven't yet listened to the Fire Feature, I highly recommend go and listen to it. You'll realize how inspirational she is as well. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Bevin, for being such an amazing guest. And I absolutely loved your damn manifesto. So hopefully I can create one of mine for one of my other projects. But thank you so much for being such an amazing guest.
Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure. And I love what you're doing for your audience. So I'm so thrilled to be part of it.
Thank you. And thank you for listening to me and Bevin today. I will be back with another amazing guest, finding out how you and I can build a better business. Until the next time we meet, this is Gull signing off. Take care and bye for now.